Namaste, children. The festival of Diwali is already here. Soon there will be a lot of celebration, joy, fun in our homes with our family and friends. Lots of lights, some crackers, some sweets, flowers, celebration, new clothes, lots of prayers, and much, much more. There are many stories to why we celebrate Diwali, but the most well known story is what Poonam Aunty is going to tell you today. The city of Ayodhya by the river Saryu was ruled by a very kind and gentle king whose name was Raja Dashrath. Raja Dashrath was a very kind king who loved the people of his kingdom and saw to it that they were very happy and comfortable with good homes to live in, good clothes to wear, enough food to eat, enough money, and lots of work to do. Any problem they had, Raja Dashrath was there to solve it for them. Raja Dashrath had 3 queens, Kausalya, Kekai, and Sumitra. The 3 queens and the king lived happily in the palace, but there was some sadness in their hearts. The sadness was that they did not have children. Every parent wants a child. That is what happened. They did not have children, so they were sad. Like you make your parents happy and your parents make you happy, just the way Raja wanted children to have happiness in his family. One day he discussed with the sages in his kingdom. Sage Vishish told him that Raja, let's have a yajna for you. The 3 queens and you should perform a yajna. And the blessings from heaven will be showered on you. Raja agreed. The 3 queens and Raja sat for the yajna with all the other sages and they performed the yajna. At the end of the yajna, there appeared a magical figure from the fire with a pot of kheer and said to the king, give this kheer to your 3 queens and they will be blessed with children. Raja was very happy. The 3 queens ate the kheer and sure enough, they were blessed with children. Kausalya was blessed with 1 son who was called Ram. Kekai was blessed with 1 son who was called Bharat, and Sumitra was blessed with 2 sons who were called Shatrughan and Lakshman. There was so much joy and happiness in the kingdom and in the palace. The children were running around, laughing, playing. The 3 queens were so happy looking after the 4 boys. All the 3 queens looked after the 4 boys as their own children. And all the 4 children treated the 3 queens as their mother. And Raja was so happy with his 4 boys. Lakshman, Shatrughan, Ram, and Bharat. Ram was the eldest. There was so much joy and happiness all around. The boys grew up and had to go to Gurukul to study. They went to Gurukul and they studied Vedas, they studied the art of archery, and they studied hunting, how to go hunting. And they were excellent with everything, especially Ram. And they came back as big boys and started helping their father in looking after the kingdom. One day, sage Vishwamitra came to Raja's kingdom, palace, and Raja was honored, and he said, Vishwamitra, sage Vishwamitra has come to my kingdom. Vishwamitra, what can I do for you? Vishwamitra said, I have come to ask you for a favor, Raja. So Raja said, I am the king, Vishwamitra. What can I do for you? I'm honored that I have you here. I would love to do whatever you want me to do. So Vishwamitra said to him, I want to take your son to the jungle, to the forest, because when we sages are performing our puja there and doing our yagyas there, the demons are attacking us and ruining our prayers. They don't let us pray. We are not able to perform our prayers. Raja was a little shocked because Ram was not so grown up that he could go and kill the demons. But Vishwamitra had full faith in Ram, and he told Raja Dashrath that Ram will be able to do and kill the demons. I know that he can do it. I have full faith. Please send him with me. Raja Dashrath sent Lakshman along with Ram, and Vishwamitra, Ram and Lakshman, three of them, went to the forest. And they reached the Dandaka forest, which was the very dense forest. The moment Vishwamitra started performing his yagya there, Tadaka, a she-demon, appeared and started laughing and saying, ha 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 ha, I will not let you perform this yagya. The moment Ram saw that, he took out his bow and arrow and shot at Tadaka. Tadaka fell on the ground, dead. When her two sons, Subhagu and Maricha, saw that their mother was killed by Ram, they came up in anger. Ram again took his bow and arrow and shot at Subhagu, and he dropped dead on the ground. Maricha did not die, but he was thrown into the sea. Vishwamitra was so happy with Ram that he took out his divine weapons and gave them to Ram and said, you deserve these weapons, Ram. Keep them with you. You will be the right user of these weapons. And he said to him, I am taking you to Mithila, Raja Janak's kingdom. Raja Janak has organized a Swayambar for his daughter Sita. who is a wonderful princess. And he has kept Lord Shiva's bow over there and has said anyone who can lift that bow and string it will be able to marry Sita. So I am taking you, Ram, there. So Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra walked to Mithila, Raja Janak's kingdom. And they saw that the bow was such a big, heavy bow that it was brought on an 8-wheel chariot. There were many princes from all the other kingdoms who had come to try this out. They couldn't even lift the bow by an inch. What to lift it up and string it? No, nobody could do it. When Ram's turn came, Ram lifted up the bow. Instead of stringing it, he broke it into 2 pieces. Janak was so happy that Ram was such a strong person. He was so excited that he said, you are the one who's going to marry my daughter. I give you my daughter. And he said to Lakshman that I would like my younger daughter, Urmila, to marry you. And I have 2 nieces. I would like them to marry Bharat and Shatrughan. Soon a messenger went to Raja Dashrath's palace and told them that Raja Janak has sent a message that he wants his daughter Sita and the younger daughter Urmila and 2 nieces to marry all the 4 boys. Ram to marry Sita, Lakshman to marry Urmila, and the Bharat and Shatrughan to marry his 2 nieces. When Raja Dashrath got this message, he was so happy. His 3 queens and Raja Dashrath sat in the chariot and came to Mithila, and there was a very big celebration. And the 4 girls got married to the 4 princes. Raja Dashrath took 4 daughter-in-laws home. The palace or the kingdom of Ayodhya, where the king had no children, was now filled with joy. He had 4 sons and 4 daughter-in-laws. There was so much happiness every day, everywhere. Once, Bharat and Shatrughan decided to visit Bharat's grandparents, and they had gone to visit the grandfather. Here Raja Dashrath suddenly felt that it was time Ram took over the kingdom and was coronated as the king. And he spoke to his ministers about it. And the ministers were very happy because they knew Ram was a very capable prince and he would be able to take the load of Ayodhya on his head, and he would do a very good job of it. He would look after the people of Ayodhya very well. So the ministers were very happy, the sages were very happy, Raja Dashrath was very happy. Soon the news spread that Ram was going to become the king. Ram told his father, "Father, I will help you, but you remain the king." But Raja Dashrath said, "No, I'm tired. I want to pray. I want to give this responsibility to you. I want to coronate you as the king of Ayodhya. Ram agreed. Everyone in the kingdom was celebrating and enjoying and hugging each other and distributing sweets. The three queens were also very happy that Ram was becoming the king. But there was one person in the kingdom who was very jealous and angry, and that was Kekai's maidservant Manthara. Manthara marched to Kekai and said to her, "You are feeling happy that Ram is becoming the king? You are Dashrath's favorite queen. He should have made your son Bharat the king." "No, Manthara. Ram is the eldest son. He should be coronated as the king, not Bharat." Manthara went on poisoning Kekai's mind, saying that your son will become a servant to Ram once he becomes the king, and you will become a servant to Queen Mother Kausalya. Initially, Kekai did not agree to Manthara, but when Manthara went on repeating and poisoning her mind, Kekai started believing her, which was not right. That was not right. And then she went and sat in Kop Bhavan. Kop Bhavan was a place where people who were angry and upset sat, and Raja would go there and listen to what problems they had. When Raja came to know his queen, Kekai, has gone to Kop Bhavan, he went running to her. He loved her so much. And he said, "Kekai, you in Kop Bhavan? What happened? Today is the day of celebration." Kekai said, "No, I'm very hurt. Do you remember, Raja? I saved your life from in the battlefield many years ago, and you had given me 2 boons. Today is the day that I'm asking you for those 2 boons." "What is it, Kekai? I'm the king. I can give you anything. Ask for it. Don't get angry." Kekai said, "Should I ask?" "You will not be able to take it, Raja." He said, "Ask me, Kekai." She said, "Do you know, Raja, I want my son Bharat to become the king, not your Ram." "What are you saying?" said Raja Dashrath. He could not believe that Kekai could say something like that, because he knew that all the 3 queens loved the 4 princes. Now he got frightened and he asked, "What are you going to ask for the second boon?" "My second boon that you are going to grant me is that you will send Ram to the forest for 14 years. Raja was devastated. He was sad. He was crying. And he said, "Please, Kekai, do not do this. I will make your son Bharat the king. But don't send my Ram to the jungle for 14 years. He's a prince. He's lived here in the palace. How will he survive in the jungle for 14 years? Kekai just did not agree and said, "You are a king and you cannot go back on your promise." Poor Raja cried and cried and cried. When Ram came to know what was happening, something was happening, He came and asked the king, "What has happened, father?" Raja Dashrath told him what had happened. He told his mother Kekai, "Kekai, Ma, I will do whatever you want me to do. Please make Bharat the king. I will go to the jungle right now for 14 years. Raja Dashrath said, "Please, Kekai, change your mind," but Kekai would not change her mind. Ram said to Raja Dashrath, "Father, you have promised, mother. You will keep up to your promise. You are a Raja. You can't go back on your promise." He went back to his palace, took off his princely clothes and his jewels. Sita said, "I also want to come with you." Lakshman said, "Brother, I will never be able to live without you. I am also coming with you." All three of them got dressed up in simple clothes and went to take Raja's blessings. And when Raja was sending them off, he was so sad. He was so sad that he became sick slowly, and he sent them away and he died. When he died, Bharat and Lakshman were sent a messenger. And when they got the messenger to come back to Ayodhya, they came back. They did not know what had happened. When they came back, they saw full Ayodhya in gloom. Everyone looked sad. A city of Ayodhya which was full of laughter and joy and happiness was sad. Everybody looked sad. They went to the palace to find out what had happened. And they were told that this is what Queen Kekai had done and Raja Dashrath had died. Bharat marched to his queen mother and said to her, "You did this, mother. I will never become the king. I will go to the jungle and bring back Ram. You are the cause of my father's death." And he started getting ready to go to the jungle to bring back Ram. Ram, Lakshman and Sita had crossed river Sarayu and gone through the forest. In the forest they met Saint Agastya. Sage Agastya told them to go and settle down in Panchvati, the forest of Panchvati, and settle down there. They walked to Panchvati, made a hut, and started living there. They ate fruits from the trees. They cooked their own food on fire and led a simple life there. While they were living there, Bharat was looking for Ram. He looked and looked in the forest and finally found Ram in Panchvati. He went to Ram and he gave the news of Raja Dashrath's death. Ram was really broken-hearted. He felt very bad that his father had died only because he wanted to make him the king. He felt really bad. Bharat told Ram that you are the rightful king for Ayodhya. Please come and get coronated as the king and look after the kingdom of Ayodhya. But Ram did not agree. He said, "This is a promise I gave to my father. My father is in heaven, and I cannot go back on the promise I gave him." Bharat pleaded to Ram, but Ram just did not listen. Bharat said to Ram, "I am going to carry your slippers, Ram, to the throne, and I'll keep them on the throne. Your slippers will rule the kingdom, not me. I will only look after the kingdom for you for 14 years till you come back. I will not sit on the throne. Your slippers will rule the kingdom. I will only look after the kingdom." Bharat started looking after Ayodhya with the slippers of Ram on the throne. Ram, Lakshman, Sita were living in the jungle. There was a king of Lanka who was a demon. His name was Ravan. He had a sister called Swarupnaka. One day, Swarupnaka was walking in the forest. And while she was walking in the forest, she saw that Ram, a handsome person, was standing outside his hut. She was smitten by him. So she thought, let me become a beautiful woman and go and ask him that will he marry me. So she transformed herself into a beautiful woman and said to Ram, "Ram, will you marry me?" Ram said, "No, I have my wife Sita here. How can I marry you?" Lakshman, who was watching this, was angry with this woman already. When Ram said that I have my wife Sita, Surupnakha became a demon, she-demon again, and she went to attack Sita. When she went to attack Sita, Lakshman took his sword and cut off her nose. She cried in pain and went running to her brother, Ravan, and told him the whole story and said that you have to take revenge from this Ram and Lakshman. And there is a beautiful wife of Ram who is in the forest. Now Ravan wanted to take revenge and he started dreaming of Sita, that he must abduct her and bring her to his palace and marry her. So he started planning what to do. He went to Maricha. This was the Maricha who was thrown into the sea. He was also a demon. He went to Maricha and said, I want you to help me. Let's make a plan how I can abduct Sita and take her and take my revenge. Maricha knew that what Ravan was doing was not right. But he knew that if he refuses Ravan, he will be killed by Ravan. But if he did what Ravan is asking him to do, then Surely he will be killed by Ram. He knew Ram was a good person, so he said, I would rather get killed by Ram than by Ravan, who is wicked, who is bad. So they made up a plan, and Maricha could disguise himself. He disguised himself like a beautiful golden deer with wonderful golden spots on him and stood outside their hut. When Sita came out and looked at the deer, and she said, "Ah, beautiful deer, Ram, come and see this deer. I would love to have this deer." Ram looked at the deer and said, "Sita, it's a beautiful deer. Do you really want it?" Sita said, "Yes, Ram, I want this deer." Ram said, "I will get it for you." He told Lakshman, "Don't leave Sita alone. You have to protect her, and I will get the deer for her." The deer started running deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest, and Ram also went deeper into the forest. Maricha, who could take out anyone's voice, started shouting for Lakshman in Ram's voice. "Lakshman, Lakshman, Lakshman." When Lakshman heard this and Sita heard, they said, "Ram is calling out for Lakshman. Lakshman is in trouble." Sita said to Lakshman, "Lakshman, go and help Ram, go and help Ram." Lakshman would not go because he knew he was supposed to look after Sita. He could not leave her alone. There were lots of demons in the forest. But Sita forced him to go and bring Lakshman back. She knew Lakshman was in trouble, but that was not right. She knew Ram was in trouble, and that was not right. She told Lakshman, "You go to and save Ram." Lakshman drew one line outside the hut and said, "This is Lakshman Rekha. And Sita, please do not come out of the Lakshman Rekha. If you come out of the Lakshman Rekha, you will not be protected. Inside the Rekha, you are protected. If you come out, you can get into trouble, into danger." Ravan, who was watching this, the moment he saw Lakshman go away, he disguised himself like a sadhu, like a hermit, and came and stood outside Sita's hut and said, "Sita, give me food, give me food." Sita went inside and brought food for the sadhu, and she gave it from inside the line. He said, "You are insulting me. You have to come out and give. How can you give food from inside to a sadhu?" Sita knew that Lakshman had told her not to go out of the line. But seeing a sadhu, she felt bad and she went out to give the food. The sadhu got transformed into Ravan and said, "Ha ha 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 ha, I'm going to take you to my Lanka and I will make you my queen." He pulled her and put her in his flying chariot, Pushpak Viman. And he put her in Pushpak Viman, and this is Garuda, the Vulture King. He was Raja Dashrath's friend and he was helping Ram and Lakshman and Sita. And Sita was his good friend too. When he saw this, he started pecking on Ravan's hand, his arm, so that he would leave Sita. But Ravan took his sword and cut off the wings. He cut off the wings and poor Garuda fell on the ground and almost died. He was injured so badly. Ravan took Sita in the Pushpak Viman. Sita kept dropping her bangles and her necklace so that when Ram and Lakshman come back, they would know that somebody had taken Sita away. When Ram and Lakshman came back, the Vulture King, who was almost dying, wanted to say something to them and said only that Sita was taken in Pushpak Viman, but he could not complete what he had to say, and he died. Ram and Lakshman looked for Sita, Sita, Sita everywhere. Where are you, Sita? Where are you, Sita? Where are you, Sita? But they couldn't find her. When they could not find her, they saw her jewels dropped on the ground. They knew that somebody had taken her. They looked and looked and looked and looked in all the forests and walked all through the dense forests till they met the Monkey King Sugriv. Sugriv said, I have a minister who is Hanuman, and Hanuman is Vayu's son. He can fly and he can help you find Sita. But first I want you to help me, Ram. My brother, Vali, has taken over my kingdom. He's a wicked person. He cheated me. I want my kingdom back. So Ram goes to help Sugriv and kills Vali, and Sugriv becomes the king. Hanuman, who can fly, decided to go across the sea and find out where Sita was. Now, Vulture King, who had died, his brother came and said, I can help you find where Sita is. I am old and my wings cannot make me fly, but I have a very good eyesight. I know where I can find Sita. And he saw her sitting in Ashok Vatika under the Ashoka trees, surrounded by she-demons. And Hanuman immediately flew towards Ashok Vatika. And he found Sita sitting under the tree and crying, Ram, come and take me. Ram, come and take me. Ravan had tried to marry her, but she had not agreed. Ravan's wife, Mandodari, had told Ravan that this will be your end. You cannot bring somebody else's wife and ask her to marry you. You are doing wrong. Your whole family, your whole kingdom will suffer because of you. But he had not agreed. Sita was sitting in Ashok Vatika and crying. Hanuman climbed up the tree and spoke to Sita and said, Ram has sent me. Sita said, I will not believe anybody. Now, I don't know who you are. Hanuman showed Ram's ring to Sita and said, this is Ram's ring and Ram had given it to me and asked me to show this ring to you so that you believe that I have been sent by Ram. He shows the ring to her and she believes. She takes out her ring and gives it to Hanuman and says, give this ring to Ram and tell him that you found me and ask him to come and take me from here. Hanuman said, we have an army of monkeys. Lakshman, Ram, Hanuman and the army of monkeys will come and take you, kill Ravan and come and take you from here, Sita, don't worry. Vibhishan was Ravan's brother. He knew his brother was doing something wrong. He went to him and told him that please send Sita back. When Ravan did not agree, he did not want to be a part of what wrong Ravan was doing. So he went to Ram and said, I would like to help you to get your Sita back. In the meantime, Ravan came to know that a monkey has been spotted near Sita. He told him to come to his palace. He was called there and he told his people to light his tail, put fire to his tail. Hanuman could fly, he was not bothered. He flew with his burning tail and burnt up so much of Lanka and went back to Ram. When he went back to Ram, now the problem was how to cross the sea. Everybody can't fly. Nala was another very strong monkey. He said, I will drop the rocks from up. So Hanuman and Nala dropped the rocks from up and the monkeys made the bridge to cross the sea. Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman and all the monkey army soldiers crossed the sea and went to Lanka. When Ravan came to know that Ram has come with his army, he went and woke up his brother Kumbhakarna, who was to sleep for 6 months. For 6 months he would sleep and 6 months he would stay awake. Told him that Ram has come, go and kill him. Kumbhakarna got up from his sleep and went to the battlefield. But Ram shot his arrow at him and killed him. When Ravan's son Indrajit came to know that Kumbhakarna, his uncle, was killed, he went to Ravan and said, don't worry, I will go to the battlefield and I will bring you Ram's head on a platter. I will cut off his head and I'll bring it to you on a platter. He goes to the battlefield. There's a big fight in that. Lakshman gets injured. When Lakshman gets injured, Ram is very unhappy that his brother, who he loves so much, gets injured. He tells Hanuman, please fly to Himalayas and bring me Sanjeevani booty. That's a herbal medicine. If Lakshman smells that Sanjeevani booty, he will become all right. Hanuman immediately flies to the Himalayas. He goes there, he doesn't know which is Sanjeevani booty. What should I take? So he puts his hand like this and transfers the full mountain on his hand and brings it to Ram and says, you can take the Sanjeevani booty from here. Ram takes the Sanjeevani booty, Lakshman smells it and becomes all right. Again there is a big fight, and in that Indrajit gets killed. When Indrajit gets killed, Ravan says, my son got killed. I am going and killing Ram now. He goes to the battlefield. Ram and Ravan have a big fight. Ram keeps shooting arrows at Ravan's head. His head flies away. His head is cut and again comes back. Again it gets cut and again comes back. He is not able to kill Ravan. Vibhishan, who's watching all this, goes to Ram and in his ears he whispers that Ravan's weakest point is his navel. Shoot at his navel. And Ram shoots at Ravan's navel and Ravan collapses and dies. There is so much joy all around. Everybody's happy. They bring Sita out to Ram. Ram is so happy to see Sita. Sita is so happy to see Ram. 14 years are already over. Ram tells Hanuman, please fly to Ayodhya and tell my brother Bharat that by sundown we will be there in Ayodhya. They all sit in Pushpak Viman. Hanuman flies to Ayodhya and everybody sits in Pushpak Viman and on their way to Ayodhya. When Bharat comes to know that Ram is coming by sundown, he is so happy. He calls all the ministers and everybody and says, Ram is coming. The word spreads, Ram is coming. Light up the whole of Ayodhya. Make it beautiful. Decorate it with flowers. There was so much happiness everywhere. Everyone was excited. This is how city of Ayodhya looked. With all the lovely diyas. Diyas were lit. It was decorated with flowers. People were distributing sweets. They were dressed nicely. They were praying to Goddess Lakshmi for wealth and prosperity of Ayodhya. And there was so much joy. Finally, the Pushpak Viman landed. And when the Pushpak Viman landed, Sita said, Deepa. And Ram said, Deepavali. And this is how the name Deepavali, Diwali came into being. Next day, Ram was coronated as the king of Ayodhya. Everyone was very happy and they knew that they had the most capable king right now after 14 years. And they were rejoicing because it was the victory of good over evil. The wicked, the evil Ravan was finished. And the good Ram, even after so many years of suffering, had come back. There was darkness in Ayodhya for many years, but after the darkness, there was light. That is why, children, we light up our homes, we light up our thoughts, we light up our hearts, and we throw away all the bad thoughts. We clean up our homes and throw away what is not nice, what is not required, and clean up our homes of dirt because we know that only the good lives and the evil always gets finished. At the end of darkness, there is always light. That is why we light diyas outside our homes. We pray to Goddess Lakshmi to give us wealth and prosperity. And we wish each other with joy and happiness all the time during Diwali. We distribute sweets, we wear new clothes. It's a new beginning. It was a new beginning for Ayodhya after 14 years of trouble. That is how we celebrate Diwali. Happy Diwali, children, to all of you. Wish you a very, 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 very happy Diwali, and may your hearts and your minds and your homes be lit up with lots of joy. Thank you, children, for listening to the story. Happy Diwali once again.